When I was a student in college, I had recently given my life to Jesus, and at that point in my life, I started to just take this more seriously. I started to read Scripture in a different way. I talked about this a little bit last week. I started to read Scripture not as a stale book of ancient stories, but as something that was alive and powerful for me today. And as I read that differently, I started for the first time in my life to understand when people talk about what it meant to have a personal relationship. I started to understand for the first time what that looked like, what that meant. Draw near to God and He'll draw near to you. For the first time, all that was starting to make sense to me. And so I found myself, even though I had other pursuits, I had school and I had a job and I played sports and all those things that I was doing, the most anticipated part of my day when all that stuff was behind was spending an hour and a half at the end of the night just reading and studying like I'd never studied before. And it produced two things in my life. Number one, it produced a desire to do that more frequently. But number two, it also produced in my life a desire to see other people experience the same thing. See, if there's a personal relationship that we have with God, if we could describe our relationship as that, we say this relationship has changed my life. And I want as many people as possible to experience that same style of relationship. And so intimacy bred intimacy in my life, and that I want to experience that myself more. But I also want to see other people experience that. As we start to taste the goodness of God, as we start to see the difference that makes in our life, it produces in us a desire, if we don't have a relationship with Him, it produces in us the desire to have that relationship, to have that personal relationship. If we have that relationship, it produces in us a desire to say, hey, I know this is where I used to be. I know these are the next steps I have to take, whether that's getting plugged into a small group, whether it's making a decision to get baptized or to get plugged into some area of service, to say, I want to make sure that I'm doing those things because this intimacy is producing in me a desire to take my faith more seriously. And once I've done those things, then it produces this deeper desire to say, I want other people to encounter God in the very same way. You see, that personal relationship that we have with God was so easy when we were young. It was easy in our personal relationships. I could shake your hand and we could be friends. But it was also easier when it came to my relationship with God. As I got older, I can't walk up to a complete stranger and want to be friends. Again, they think I was weird. But as an adult, I can walk up to God and say, God, I don't have religion figured out yet. I can't even answer all the questions we've talked about throughout this whole series. But God, I know this. I want to be your friend. God, I want to draw near to you because your word tells me that if I draw near to you, that you in turn are going to draw near to me.